Hi, my name is Bill Burnett.
And my name is Dave Evans. We're co-founders of the Stanford Life Design Lab and co-authors
of the books Designing Your Life and Designing Your New Work Life, coming out in October 19th this year.
And we're here with Design Milk for the DMTV Milkshake. So we're going to dip into our Stanford hat full of a bunch of cool questions and decide which one of the two of us is going to answer them. Okay, here we go. First one up, Bill, is...
Let's see. What is the future of on-site work? Some companies are returning to in-person work, like Google and the big finance companies. And will the demands of working for a top-tier firm mean you have to come to the office?
What do you think, Bill?
Well, I think a lot of these companies didn't get the memo. Kind of like Apple Computer when they announced that everybody's coming back to the office, and then 3,000 Apple employees said,
No.
In fact, Apple made the mistake of doing a survey. Something like 68 or 70% of the employees said, yeah, we'd like a hybrid work thing, maybe a 3-2, a 4-1. And then they, completely paid no attention to that survey. So our not a prediction, but our sense is that people feel empowered. They like the flexible hours of being able to work from home sometimes. People still love being in an office.
Right.
That's still cool. We like the community of offices. But most companies are going to be forced to go to a hybrid situation for two reasons. One, employees want it. They want to be trusted to work this way.
Yeah.
They have been. They were forced to be trusted. They turned out to be very trustworthy, and they like the freedom to schedule their own time and do things the way they like to do it. And two, the CFO is going to tell the CEO, we just dropped 50% of our lease costs by going to this hybrid work environment. And if we don't do it, we won't be competitive with all the other companies. So there'll be a lot of reasons why we think the hybrid work is going to be a positive both for companies and for the people who work there.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you got next?
Let's see. You got to take this one too. What advantages do designers have confronting seemingly endless disruptions? We're sitting in the office of the executive director of the design program. What's he think?
Well, designers are really good at disruption. That's what we do, right? I mean, when the design team got together and they came up with this funny little thing called the smartphone, the iPhone, they disrupted the entire industry. Apple wasn't even a player. Remember a company called Nokia?
Right.
Yeah, and Motorola. Those were the guys who owned the business. So designers are very comfortable with disruption, and designers have a process for inventing the future, which is a disruptive thing. We call it design thinking or human-centered design. And so in the book, Designing Your Life, we applied these same principles to people designing their really interesting problem of their future, which is inherently something data. You can get data about your future. You have to invent it. So designers are naturally good at disruption. And during this period of the pandemic, we've been really working on how is work going to work?
Right.
And how's life going to work when everything's been disrupted? Because remember, it's not just the pandemic. We had, the George Floyd murder and race riots in America. We got climate change.
The Me Too movement.
We have fires in Northern California, floods in Houston. I mean,
disruption is the new normal.
The disruption is the new normal. Design and thinking like a designer is the thing that makes you more resilient.
Because we're particularly good at this thing called reality. Okay, next question is, how do you know if you've designed a successful life? Well, when we wrote the first book's, Designing Your Life, tagline, how to build a well-lived, joyful life. We had a long conversation about what the tagline got to promise you. How to build a well-lived, monetarily rich life. How to build a multicolored life. How to build the what?
We argued a lot about the happy life. People wanted the perfect life.
And so, we picked joyful because we thought that would be the outcome to a well-lived life. When you've lived are living a successful life, when you have figured out what makes you feel more alive. We think at the end of the day, Joseph Campbell's probably right, it's about aliveness. We have some tools about helping you identify where you feel more alive, where you feel more like your real self. And that could be a whole wide range of things. And when you've identified what it is that makes you feel more alive in the world, and you're more what we call coherent, because who you are, what you believe, what you're doing are in alignment, now you're living successfully. So I think we would say a successful life is a coherent life according to you.
This is also one of those questions where the question kind of embeds a little bit of a dysfunctional belief.
Yeah, because it's about success.
Once you've designed it, you're done. Success, boom, money, the big house.
Yeah, when did you win life? Are you done? Did you win?
It doesn't work that way. It is an ongoing, continual designing into aliveness, not the final product called success.
Okay.
Oh, this is good. You should do this one.
When is it too late to make radical change in your life? What do you tell people who think they need to make radical change but think it's too late? So we're on the East Coast. Remember, we do one of those things. And during the break, 54-year-old woman walks up to me. She goes, I'm thinking about going to medical school. And all my friends tell me I'm crazy. It's too late. What's wrong? What's wrong? What do you think? And I kind of go, I don't think you care what I think. And I don't think you care what your friends think. What do you think? She goes, well, I think I want to do it. I kind of go, okay, let's reframe this. How long does it take you to go to medical school? 4 years. Then how long to do residency? Well, 2 to 6, depending on your subspecialty. Okay, so you get in. How long does it take you to get in? Oh, I'm ready to go. I'm already all crammed up on the MCATs. Great. So you get your MD by the time you're 60. You're going to get your residency done by the time you're 63. When do you plan on dying? My family runs to longevity. We're going to be 90. Great. Work till you're 85. That's a 20-year career. What's the last thing you did for 20 years? Raise my children. Was that worth doing? Yeah, I was. Okay, fine. You're good to go. A radical change is just a change. It's only radical because somebody thinks it is. Yeah. If you decide it's okay, it's okay.
You know, we have a thing in the first book called Odyssey Plans. You do 3 completely different versions of your life, including one we call the wild card.
Right.
The wild card plan.
Yeah. Where money is no object, and I promise nobody will laugh at you.
Right. Nobody will say that it's ridiculous. It's too late.
You're too late.
And the number one thing, and people debrief these things, and the number one thing that happens is everybody in the team, when they hear the other person's crazy radical
you can totally do that.
You could totally do that.
Okay.
So it's only radical to others because they don't see what you see as possible for your future.
What do you say to someone hoping to wait out the cataclysmic changes we've all been going through these last 20 months? When's it going to be over, Bill?
Or 20 months or 21 months or 23 months or 28 or 5 years. People are now talking about maybe this is the forever virus, right?
Yeah.
So, look.
COVID's the new flu.
Yeah, COVID's a really bad flu. Look, there's a model we have in our book on designing a new work life. There's the old world before the pandemic. In fact, we launched that book on February 25th of 2020. Right? February 25th, we're in New York.
12 days before shelter in place.
Very exciting. Yeah, then by the time I landed, there were 6 cases of COVID in Scarsdale, and then the world fell apart. All right. So we've all been waiting. When's it going to get better? When's it going to get better? And when you're in the waiting room, you develop an incredible frustration. I mean, how many times have you been waiting for a doctor's appointment?
Right.
You know, it was supposed to happen at 12, it's now 12:30, and then they're still not ready, and then they put you in the room at 12:40, and then you sit there for another 20 minutes waiting for the doctor to come in. It's really frustrating. You can't stay in the waiting room for 20 months. That's crazy. And it turns out we don't know what the new next normal is going to be. We really don't know. You know, maybe work will be hybrid, maybe some other things will be different, but we don't know. We know it's never going to be like it was, and that's the definition of disruption, right? It's never going to be like it was. So we say, get out of the waiting room and get into what we call the acceptance zone, right? The first step in design is accept. Accept that you want to solve a problem. Accept that we're in the waiting room. We're not in the waiting room. We're in the acceptance zone. We don't know when this thing is going to be over or ever be really over. Maybe it'll just trickle down to a slow, dull roar. Who knows? So get in the acceptance zone, because in the acceptance zone, you can be generative. You can think of ways to train yourself for something new. You can think of things to do that aren't just waiting.
It's all about your attention, it's about curiosity. If you're waiting it out, the question is, are people waiting it out, meaning they're waiting for the old thing. They're looking at the past and waiting for it to come again. Well, it's never going to come again. What you do is you redirect your attention to the future and go, oh, what's interesting here? It's all about curiosity. Start learning how the post-pandemic world, the post-climate change world is going to affect where you are, and that's where the future is going to be. The last question we got in the hat here is, tremendous attention is going to the problem of overwork in America. How do you help people separate well-paid but busy work from their true purpose?
Oh, this is a great question because it's the wrong question.
Yeah, it already has what we call a dysfunctional. So, well-paid busy work from true, because we all know the busy work that you get paid well for is probably stupid, and your real purpose doesn't make any money. Right. So that's the money versus meaning problem that people think is their problem. And it starts with, if you set it up that way, your brain's going to get stuck in the teeter-totter. Money goes up, meaning goes down, meaning goes up, money goes down, pick one. We don't like that at all. First of all, there are people who are stuck because they're making too much money doing something they don't want to do.
Or they don't want to do anymore.
They don't do
a lot of
anymore.
lawyers who don't want to do
Yeah.
that anymore.
And the easy way, look, frankly, reduce your cost of living and you're not stuck. You're only stuck because you've decided to let your cost of living be so high you can't afford to make less. Okay, afford to make less by spending less money. There's a couple we worked with, very, very high paid consultants living in the high life up in Upper West of New York City, very expensive lifestyle, decided they didn't like anymore. They now live in a little cabin in Colorado and they commute electronically. They're spending about a fifth of what they used to and they're fine.
In fact, I would argue well-lived and joyful.
Well-lived and joyful.
Yeah.
So this stuck thing is, the person who stuck you is you.
Yeah.
You can get you, if you're well-paid and unhappy, you're in charge of getting unstuck.
Right. And this false dichotomy, money versus meaning. We blow it up in the book with a thing we call the maker mix. In the market economy, you get paid in money, right?
Right.
In the impact, in the economy where you're trying to do something good in the world, you get, your impact dollars, right?
Right.
Impact is the payment. And in the creative economy, it's expression. I got to write my poem. I got to, sing my song. I got to play my play. So it's not a zero-sum game, and it's not a teeter-totter. It's actually at least 3 different ways we get paid psychically and physically to do the work we do. And it's just a matter of balancing that mix for any particular time in your life. So it isn't a trade-off between money and purpose. And the other thing is, purpose is
purpose.
it's a slippery thing. I mean,
I give a big talk at Cal Poly University down in San Luis Obispo. I was asked to come down and speak to thousands of undergrads about finding their purpose. I said, I'm perfectly happy to come give that talk as long as I can disagree with the topic. We're in favor of people living purposefully and being on purpose and being on intention, being on strategy, if you will. However, all of us are bigger than lifetime permits us to express. So there may be more than one of you in there. In fact, there's for sure more than one of you in there. We don't think people have one single true, native, authentic, sincere purpose, and anything less than that is an illegitimate life. There are lots of ways to live purposefully. Yeah. You probably have more than one. Right. So the key thing is to be at least on purpose and probably growing into a person that's actually going to morph and have a different purpose later on. So the purpose thing is also a process, not just a destination.
Thank you so much for inviting us to come speak with Design Milk and all the really interesting questions that we pulled out of the hat. I hope that's useful for you guys and enjoyable.
Enjoy your Design Milkshake.
Enjoy your milkshake.